We can't be insulted by Ms. Busisiwe Mavuso here, Chair.
Just hold on.
It's not an insult, it's facts, Honorable Hatton.
Ma'am.
What is the fact?
Just Honorable Hatton, wait.
That this is the mess of the ANC-led government.
Honorable Hatton.
Is South Africa facing a political crisis? Well, joining me to discuss is Jonathan Katzenellenbogen of the Daily Friend. So Jonathan, President Ramaphosa recently was addressing workers at the Workers' Day rally, which is a big event for the Tripartite Alliance, and he was booed at this event. What exactly happened, and what does this tell us?
Well, they told him to go. It must have been totally unexpected. What it really shows is an immense amount of disrespect for the president and, of course, who they had invited to speak to them. But they wanted to make a point. Their most immediate point was that they've been on strike to demand a 1,000 Rand pay increase from Sibanye-Stillwater, and many of them were miners at this Workers' Day rally held in Northwest. But it also represents the declining authority of the president in the face of his tripartite alliance. You know, it's the ANC, the tripartite alliance made of the ANC, Labour, and the South African Communist Party. Now, for him to be booed is quite a turning point. President Zuma was booed, but then he was in decline because of allegations of associations with Gupta, and his whole presidency was beginning to unravel. But this is different. On that day in 2017, in fact, Ramaphosa addressed a Workers' Day rally separately from Zuma, and he was cheered. So this really does represent a turn in South African politics.
Right. So, Jonathan, recent remarks by President Kgalema Motlanthe about the growing state of anarchy in South Africa, I think, points to a deeper trend underlying South Africa's politics. Do you think that these events on Workers' Day and others, such as the criticism by Busisiwe Mavuso, the Eskom board member against the ANC, we're starting to see a kind of a growing pattern of criticism of the ANC and a questioning of its legitimacy?
Yes, the ANC is fast losing support. There's little about that. The last indication we got of ANC support, apart from polls, has been the diminishing support, electoral support for the ANC, and that showed up last year. It only got 46% of the vote. Okay, that was with a very, very low voter turnout, but nevertheless, if present trends continue, it could face problems come 2024. So behind much of our current political chaos is the diminishing support for the ANC and the emergence of new forces. And with this diminishing support, people are speaking out, standing up, creating their own political parties, and directly challenging the ANC. People are no longer scared, as they might have been 2-3 years ago, to stand up against the ANC and tell them they are wrong.
And where to from here, Jonathan? I mentioned that incident with Busisiwe Mavuso at that Scopa meeting, openly criticizing the ANC, saying that they shouldn't be blaming the Eskom board for some of the electricity generation failures. I think it's more of a mixed picture. I think there's culpability across various institutions, but I think the main problem there is the cadre deployment philosophy, which the president has backed quite strongly, and the kind of relentless push for transformation, quote unquote.
I think definitely that is the case at Eskom, but despite repeated attempts to get it right, and Ramaphosa has been in power for nearly 5 years, and since late 2017, and he still hasn't got it right. You know, there are deep-seated problems at Eskom which can't be fixed in maybe 18 months. So I think Busi Mavuso's comment that it wasn't the present board, but rather the long legacy of ANC misrule and the corruption at Eskom and the problems you pointed out that lie behind the problems. It was a statement of the obvious, but that she made it in a public fora and with such drama, I think has brought her enormous support. And that's partially because of the ANC's diminished support. People can't take this anymore, that the ANC can get away with so much. Things have changed. Things have markedly changed in the country.
And you wrote an article for the Daily Friend, which we'll link to below, which actually went viral. And it seems to suggest that there's quite a strong appetite amongst ordinary South Africans for somebody to speak this common sense. So we'll definitely link to that below. But what about the original question that we opened this discussion with, Jonathan, around the antipathy from the trade unions towards the president? Do you think that we might be starting to see a fraying of relations within the tripartite alliance between Labour and government?
I think things have long been frayed, and the tussle between the radical economic transformation faction and the Ramaphosa faction reflects that. I think it's a reality of the ANC and has been for some time. But as support, as ANC support declines, I think it could bring about a split in the party. We just don't know. The Communist Party and Labour might well ask, what are they doing in the same party as Ramaphosa? And at the same time, Ramaphosa, with allies in the Communist Party and the trade union movement, can't move on economic reform. So it's a very, I would say it's a fragile coalition, but amazingly it has stood together. But I think these things stand together more easily when there's patronage, when he can offer trade union allies jobs in government, and when there's cadre deployment and contracts for the supporters. Things are much easier.
Jonathan Katzenellenbogen, thank you very much for sharing your insights with us.